Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in the South and our online audience tuning in, thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. Glad you all could be with us as well. We're excited to welcome writer, producer, and director Gretl Claggett to our program today. Gretl is an individual who's been able to do what she loves and to share that experience with all of you. Her film that I had a chance to watch is called STORMCHASTER. It's an award-winning film that we're going to talk to her about, as well as the creative community and what it's been like for her to do work that she loves and to share with all of us. Gretl, hello to you, and welcome to Conversations Live.
Oh, thank you, Cyrus. Really excited to be here with you.
Well, look, I was honored enough to be able to have a chance to watch the film, and I can see why it has been received so well. I love the kind of marriage of not only, of course, entertainment, but also, I think, introspection when it comes to us as human beings. We'll get more to that in a bit, Gretl, but I want to talk about this experience for you. I mean, I've seen some of the other interviews you've done, and one of the things that really comes through for you is that you are a creator that just loves to create. So what is it like for you to see something that you created be received so well?
Well, it's an amazing experience, especially being a creator-writer. You know, I wear a lot of hats. So when you start with an idea and a blank page, the first part of the process is always a very solitary one. And then, of course, casting, crewing up, and then directing the project, that's when it becomes highly collaborative. So it's a trip to see where you start with a germ of an idea and then what is eventually born. And as you said, I mean, when people respond well to it, I mean, that's really the icing on the cake, because I am a firm believer in creating for the sake of creating. I do believe that human beings, all of us, are creators. We might create differently, but that joy of the creative process is really what it's all about. And you never know how people are going to receive something. So, of course, when it wins awards, or, people say, wow, that really touched me, it made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me think about the world differently. I mean, that's what drives me, is to really communicate and entertain and transform. So, it's been an amazing journey, amazing experience with STORMCHASTER.
A couple of things you mentioned just now, Gretl, I want to go back to, because I think it's an interesting part of the conversation here, because what I have found, and I think it has evolved over the years, and I'm curious as to your thoughts about this, the creative community has not always gotten the credit it deserves for its creativity. I think now COVID has kind of spotlighted the need for us and for what we bring. But have you always believed in your gift? Have you always believed that you had something that was meant to be shared?
No, and I think that most of us could say that. No, absolutely not. I mean, I have a history of trauma, and so I had my voice shut down very early on. And then in numerous ways through my life, even with a writing teacher at one point who basically decimated me, when I was very young. I was about 17. And then I wrote in private for a very long time. So that itself has been a process of really refining my voice. And then, of course, I was very blessed to have other mentors and teachers and friends who would read my material, whether it was a poem, a short story, or a screenplay, and say, whoa, you're onto something here, keep going. So I think that our society, as you said, and we do live in a capitalistic culture, which STORMCHASTER tackles some of that. So the arts and capitalism have always been at odds, and most of us are programmed to think of success as the amount of money we make, the brands we wear, the houses we live in, and creativity. It doesn't mean that you can't be prosperous and abundant as a creator, but it is kind of at odds because it does. It's a process. I mean, to make a piece of art, whatever that is a messy, difficult process. It's never easy. You're going to be challenged on many, many levels. And for whatever reason, I mean, it's connected to my soul. So part of me just wouldn't give up. And then, as I said, I've also been blessed to have people and communities who have been supportive, which is very necessary. So I hope your point, Cyrus, about how COVID is showing us that, that the arts, that creativity, that the human beings connecting, that it goes beyond just working a job, making money. We're really at a time where we're taking stock of what our quality of life is, what we want to leave behind as humanity, right? So, but it wasn't an easy path, and it certainly, and even today, I mean, I might be working on something where I'm like, I think I'm crazy, I mean, I'm tackling some new material that I have had moments of doubt with. So anyone out there who is creating, I mean, that's part of it. That's part of, I think, being a sensitive soul and a creative being, that, you have to kind of stay in the unknown and in the mystery, which can be uncomfortable for us as human beings.
Right. Such a great point. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gretl. And it goes to the point then about Storm Chaser, and what you just said now makes, I think, the layers of Storm Chaser even more important, because I think, one of the things that comes across, of course, we're talking about, literal elements like weather in this film, but also, the different layers and the storms that can be within us all, and how those can rage too. You said in an interview that I watched when I was prepping for this segment, and it was so great being able to, kind of see, different conversations you've had. But you had one last month, Gretl, where you were talking about the success, and you just referenced it there, how, the attention is great, but you don't do it for that. I think that in itself is not, what all creators have gotten to the point of that they realize. Do you think that it's kind of helped you in being more focused, that you are looking at the work instead of looking at the accolades?
Yes. I mean, sure, all of us love accolades, and we're conditioned to be in a gold star society. It's just part of how we're conditioned as human beings. We all want love. We all want approval. I mean, those are things. But yeah, if you can, and I'm not saying that I've completely transcended that, Cyrus, by any means.
Right.
Because we all have elements of ego and wanting, of course, when you make something and it's your baby, you want people to love your baby. There will be some people who are like, that's an ugly baby, no matter what. So, but I do think that, I do feel that right now I am moving into a new phase. I mean, the industry is changing rapidly. We don't know where things will land, but I am very clear that for the rest of my days, I will be creating. And part of my mission as a creator is to entertain, of course, because I do believe that human beings need entertainment, and that we actually learn about ourselves and the world through entertainment. But the brand of entertainment that I'm committed to, to putting out there and finding like-minded creators and collaborators to work on is our stories that are socially relevant, that do hold the mirror up, and that hopefully will cause some sort of transformation, not only in individuals, but in our culture at large. So, like with Storm Chaser, there's definitely socioeconomic, there are a lot of messages, right, in there of really tough topics tough issues, I should say, that we're dealing with in America and the world today, but especially more focused on, America. I do think it does free you up. because at the end of the day, no matter how brilliant your work is, somebody's not going to like it. Somebody, I mean, you can't please everyone. So I think the stronger we can be in terms of, and I think this applies to life, because if you think about it, our lives are our creations. So we're all creating. We're always creating and co-creating. So the stronger we can be in our truth, the better we can create a fulfilling and successful life for us individually. What makes us happy? What turns us on? And then also staying, as a director, I have to hold a vision, but I also have to stay open and flexible for my collaborators to bring their gifts and talents to the table, and then kind of be the captain of the ship to say, like, okay, yes, that's great. This maybe isn't right for this particular film, right? But yeah, bring more of that. So it's always a balance, it's always a balancing act of holding to our truth and also allowing which we're seeing in the world right now. I mean, we're so polarized because nobody wants to, everybody wants to be right. And if you don't believe what I believe, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's, we're not going to move forward unless we have some flexibility and we can see all sides of the conversation or of the issue, and then work through it collectively. So that's kind of how I approach art too. Like in terms of no matter the form that I'm working in, whether it's a poem or a short story or a screenplay, film, I never, like even in Storm Chaser, Flip Smith, who's the antagonist, I had to really own my parts of Flip within myself, and I wanted, Flip to be wholly human, not to be the bad guy, the villain. He has to be. All of those characters have to be multidimensional, and that's the case with all the people we meet in our lives too. We're all multidimensional.
Such a great point and such a great reminder for all of us. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Gretl Claggett to our program today. Gretl is not only a writer, producer, and director, but an individual who's been able to not only, of course, to discover her gift, but then to share that gift with all of us. We're talking to her about that, as well as her film, her award-winning film, Storm Chaser. We're going to let you guys know how to stay connected with the updates there. I think you just referenced something, too, I wanted to talk to you about, Gretl, because it's one thing for you to write this. It's another thing for you to have an amazing cast to bring it to life. What was that like for you, to see your words being birthed by these talented actors?
It's an experience unlike any other. And that is what I love about filmmaking, is the highly collaborative process. It comes with challenges, of course, at times, because you're not always going to see eye to eye on things. So there is this kind of negotiating through things. But what I love to do in the writing process is surprise myself, and then certainly when you start bringing, and I did have the opportunity to work with amazing actors. I adore my cast, and it's a thrill when somebody brings something to the table where you're like, whoa, I never thought of this moment that way, but that's totally wonderful. And then there are other moments where it's kind of like, that's a great idea. But I think, and that's the joy about being a director, is that you are collaborating not only with the actors, but, with the DP, in post, with your editor. A film is really made several times. I mean, first on the page, second when you're filming it with all the actors and the crew, and then the final time, of course, in the edit. And that holds its surprises, too, because sometimes you think a scene maybe comes in and goes out on a certain, at a certain place. But in the edit, you discover, oh, actually, if we start 2 lines in, or we leave those last 2 lines out and we cut to this other scene, it's more powerful. So It is, it's a thrill when you see the characters fully embodied, though, to your point, in terms of the cast. And I really believe that even more so than with theater, film is, 95 to 90%, 99% casting. You want those people when you're going through the casting process. You're looking for those people who can really embody all the energies of each of the characters and who can, who have chemistry between themselves to really spark the story. And it's always kind of a mystery unfolding.
Yeah.
And you're on a razor's edge of like, is this going to work? And especially, I feel like with Storm Chaser, after I got the script to a place where I was like, okay, I'm ready to cast, I'm ready to go into production, I thought, what have I done to myself? I was scared because it is such a razor's edge of humor and darkness. The tone had to be, I knew that it had to be very nuanced in order for it to work. And in that kind of dark humor realm, which is tough to pull off. You can go to one side or the other. You can fall off of that razor's edge very easily. So I was a bit terrified, I must admit.
Yeah.
But I think that's good.
Well, I want to say, Gretl, I think the other side of it, too, is, as we were talking about Storm Chaser, we're talking about being a creative. I think the other side is, and I mentioned, what it's like for us, in COVID to realize the importance of people in your position and filmmakers and creators. On a personal note, what was this experience like for you? Being separated, it's something all of us have had to deal with. For creatives, I know it's been especially challenging for your industry. How have you been navigating the world, since COVID kind of hit the world?
Well, at the start of COVID, I immediately lost all of my paying work because the two industries that I am involved in, film production and then branded content, live events, multimedia, that's also, I've been a creative director, writer-director in that realm. Everything shut down. So those industries are undergoing massive changes, and I have been fortunate enough to, pick up some freelance work here and there. But I think all of us are kind of going, okay, how is this going to play out? How will we be able to make our livelihoods? If you think about the actors on Broadway, Broadway is still shut down. So, I have been through a lot in my life, and I think that has given me kind of this muscle to deal with adversity. As a creator, you're always getting more no's than yeses. But I always like to think of, I think it was a Wallace Stevens poem that ends, after the last no comes the yes. So, you have to hang on to that. You have to be tenacious. In terms of COVID for me, I've kept creating, essentially. I've kept creating. That has been what's gotten me through tough times. So I don't know how COVID will affect the trajectory of my career at this point. But, from a human kind of soulful level, I keep writing and creating, and I have a project that, hopefully will be filming in the late spring or early summer that I co-wrote with a couple of great friends of mine. It's a short. I'm working on a TV pilot, writing that. And then I also have a memoir feature screenplay that, I'm working on. So lots of things in the funnel, and really taking it one day at a time and just keeping the faith. But I do think that, regardless of, not everything gets made that we do, or not everything gets made in the timeline that we think it will get made in. You hear these stories of like, oh, this breakout novel was 15 years in the making. You hear that about films too. So I try to, as much as I can, kind of surrender to a, quote unquote divine timeline, and just kind of keep doing the work, keep learning, and I try to believe that these things are happening for us, not only individually, but as a collective. I hope that this collective experience of COVID will help us as a country and as humanity. But, speaking from an American point of view, I guess, because I live in America, I hope that we can come through this with more compassion and really start to tackle these systemic issues that we're facing that have been brought to the surface but have been there for many, many, many years, and that we can have more compassion for each other and really see that we are all, that we're all human beings, who basically want to be loved and want to have jobs that allow us to put roofs over our heads and food on the table for our families, and that really the most important thing is being kind to one another, and helping each other, because life is challenging, even in the best of times. And now we're in the worst of times. So this is when we should be pulling together, not splitting apart. So I'm still hopeful that we'll come out the other side and stronger and better for it.
Yeah, and I have that same hope, Gretl, and I think, as long as we have people like yourself doing the work that you're doing, I think that will definitely help in that regard. Again, everyone, Gretl Claggett has been our guest. Gretl is a writer, producer, director, and individual who's been able to do some remarkable work, including with her award-winning short film, STORMCHASTER. So, Gretl, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you and keep up with the updates?
So one of the ways is I'm a big poster on Facebook, Gretl Claggett on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Gretl Marlena, and Gretl is Gretl, and then Claggett, Claggett, Marlena, Gretl Marlena is Gretl, and then Marlene. Not so much on Twitter, but please do check out my website, and that's GretlClaggett.com. And there is a reach out and make contact page. So, if you want to get in touch with me, please do so. I am pretty good about responding. And, STORMCHASTER is still doing the festival circuit. Hopefully later this year, we will not only be playing virtually, but we'll be also once again live, which makes a difference, of course, as you know, Cyrus, to have that audience experience.
Right.
And then after that, the film will be on some sort of distribution platform. And then hopefully one day, I'll be expanding that. I have been working on a pitch deck and ideas for expansion into a episodic series. So
nice.
I don't know when that will happen, but feel free to reach out to me on all of those platforms. And I really appreciate everything you're doing in the world, Cyrus. What you said to me, I believe the same is true with you. You're a shining light, and, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Gretl. We're definitely trying to do our best, and we appreciate you sharing with our audience today. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.